You're listening to the Angry Designer Podcast, where we help frustrated graphic designers crush the industry chaos, ditch the social BS, and build badass, rewarding careers that actually pay. Now powered by Wix Studio. Obviously, you've had to have used Chet Chapiva some parts of your business,
absolutely.
right? Because you have some incredibly talented illustrators on staff.
Yeah.
How are they feeling about this? And then I get it. I mean, it's...
Yeah. And honestly, we haven't had a ton of conversations, especially on the illustration side.
Yeah.
About it. I think it's now just going to be this, it's a weird thing of like, a lot of them and what they're, if it's a spot illustration, it can be pretty much duplicated by, AI now,
Scary.
It's fucking scary, and it's such a weird situation. I just think now it's going to get more and more into like, who is the person behind the brand? What are you selling, the client or the process and why, more so than ever before. It's not just like what you produce and that final product now. Everybody's going to have to shift a little bit, and it's just more of like, it's going to bring more of the human piece of it into design more so. And you need to kind of lean into that more, like even more so on a strategy side. Like if you didn't do strategy before or kind of work that in or, in freaking educate your clients, you're going to have to now.
Absolutely.
So
are your clients getting any sort of pushback or?
Not too much. No. Like I've had some weird things with like, we had one specific project that the client basically brought to us an AI poster. Like they had done it in AI. It looked like the content and kind of structure was there. Right.
Yes.
And so I told him, I'm like, hey, this is it's kind of cool. It's cool to see this. I said, but what you did was kind of cut out a sketch phase.
Yep.
So in my mind, I'm kind of like, is that good? Is it bad? Like we lost a little bit of revenue that we could have billed for that sketch phase, but that would have took us time, right?
Yeah.
Now we have this AI kind of layout. It was very clear what they want. Yeah. So we can just kind of jump in now and do a much more refined sketch, to get approved. So in that sense, it kind of worked out well. I was like, that's cool. But at the same time, I have a friend who used to be a videographer. He's selling all of his equipment, and now he's offering logo design done by AI, and it says done by AI, and you basically get, and it says you get a flat file, and I'm like,
what can you even do with that?
I'm like, that's lame. So
well, and again, that's how many long-term issues are they going to have with this? But this is the worry is that, it's like we're cannibalizing ourselves in a situation like this because a flat file is not going to work. Right. And it's just going to be long-term issues over and over and over again. It's funny because I've had customers already come to us and they said straight out, I'll just get ChatGPT to help me with the copy and I'll give it to you. But they're still looking at us to do the mock-ups, the layouts, the overall big piece. And it makes sense because I can't see AI replacing that part anytime soon. Anyway, but the strategy part worries me. And so this, like you said, they cut out a lot of the strategy. Do you think we're just going to get to the point where we're just going to be order takers then? Like if you see something wrong, are you in a place to still speak up?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And I think the strategy piece is going to be more important. I think like the thinking and like our human experience we've all had, in different areas and cities and whatever it is kind of growing up, that you're offering the client like with your opinion and your design sense, like that can't be replaced, So
absolutely
I think that's where it's going to be more important, to lean into the strategy side and everything. So
well, and it's kind of to our point that we were talking about before is just like, maybe that they'll perceive that end result can be done by AI. And sure, AI can slap together a logo. But it kind of misses on all the other parts that we're supposed to bring to the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then the whole question is, do we elevate ourselves? And in the end, will we be using AI to get a lot of that, like, are we going to be more valued for our strategy, for our thinking, not necessarily just the execution?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's where it's going to go. I think what is shitty is like, and I wouldn't want to be a young designer or even coming out of college. Like, I'm like, this is like, that's a weird spot.
It is.
Like, I think the seasoned designers and things, and studios, can adapt and will, are going to make it work to their advantage.
Yes.
But I think a young designer coming out or a young illustrator, like, oh man.
Yeah.
That's what's kind of shitty.
Okay. Now let me ask you though, then, to play devil's advocate, what if one of these young designers comes to your studio and they're like, yeah, I took graphic design, but I saw AI was coming. So now
I'm a master of
AI. Yeah. I can put shit together and up. Would that be of value?
I mean, it probably would, you know, like maybe, you know, like, I don't know.
I know it's tricky. Yeah. They don't exist yet.
Yeah, they don't.
You God knows the school's not teaching that either.
No, it's not. True. You know, but I'm sure there's people out there leaning into it that are, you know, that can do it much better, you know, and I don't know.
It is making us a hell of a lot more efficient. That's
yeah.
And it's happening so fast.
Yeah. That's what's scary and just, It's like, slow down.
Yeah. You know? What's the hurry?
Yeah.
Right. Well, on a good note, I mean, you are a master brander. You know, your brand is just killing it on a long-term basis. Like,
that's why we're still, so AI is not going to make you a book.
That's right. Exactly.
And this thing, you sold out on this how fast?
Very quickly. Yeah. We put it online in the first 2 hours, it sold out. And then I had kept 22 books to bring to Crop. And they sold out in 10 minutes when I got here.
One.
But yeah,
exactly.
We talked to a bunch of people last night. It's like, I'm going straight for the link.
Yeah. It was going to be a mob. And you sold out literally within the first 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah. There was a line and they were gone. And so it's kind of nice because then I'm like, I'm done. I'm going to go watch talks now. Because all I brought was books this time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't bring anything else. Yeah,
so you guys, and again, I'm still baffled by this because you're a graphics agency, right? Oh, sorry, you're much more than that. But you know, your brand, you're creating sick graphics. You know, it's hard to even pinpoint a single logo that is the Lincoln logo. Okay, and now you're constantly churning out these books of your work. Like, this is unheard of.
Yeah.
So how the hell does this happen?
Yeah.
Because this is where I want to take this brand, but I see this and then I'm like, ain't no way in hell that we're gonna be able to do this.
I mean, this like is much different than our other books. You know, we have the Mayhem series of logo illustration, sketchboard, right? And at some point I want to do an apparel Mayhem. You know, this is just Lincoln work over the last 10 years, you know, no client work in here at all, right? And this is something like probably about, I'd say 2 or 3 years ago, you know, it was kind of apparent to me, like, we document a lot of shit that we do, you know, the retreats, coming to Crop, like all this shit, right? You know, we do a retreat, we do a whole branding kit for ourselves for the retreat for no reason, just to post on Instagram or whatever. It never gets fucking used, right?
Yeah.
You know, we go to Designer Con, we take the RV, we set up, and we do all these things to kind of promote the company, sell product, and just kind of do marketing, right?
Yeah.
And we've always documented it all. So like a couple of years back, it was kind of like we have so much of this, so many photos and graphics and things from all the shit that we've done that just event's over, kind of goes on the drive and never see it again, you know?
Yeah.
So I knew we had enough content to put together a book that just had our shit in there, you know, our designs, our story of like, you know, how I started and why we made so many logos and all that shit. So so it's cool. It was a heavy lift of like, so I basically, Dustin, Dave, and then myself kind of dug into this thing and like dedicated like time every week to work on this thing.
Putting
and then
this together.
Yeah. And then I took like the last 2 weeks to get everything into one InDesign file and kind of dial it in. So
see the cover, right? It's like a lay flat. I love this idea,
really
right?
good.
Like, look at that. Books just don't open up like this. And it's got like that old school paper. Like, you're right. It's got that flat texture, analog. You just don't see any.
Yeah. It's a different, you know, binding system. We wanted the big fold out cover. I wanted those inside pages. Originally, it was going to be a little bit of craft like paper, right? Right at the end, we changed it to this white kind of matte paper. And a lot of the reason was even the printer was like, you guys have a lot of photos in here. Some of them are dark. Like you have a lot of black ink. He's like, I don't know that this craft paper is going to be, it's going to be a good choice, you know?
Yeah.
So kudos to him. So we switched to the white, which I think was a great idea.
Yeah,
but it still has that kind of rough texture feel, you know? So and like some of these photos, like the whole thing turned out cool, like, but a lot of this shit is like cell phone photos and shit like that, you know,
really?
that I was kind of like, I don't know, some of these are going to hold up, you know, and I think the matte paper helps that, you know, I mean, a lot of them we actually shot as well though with, you know, Jake did in the studio and shit like that, but there's a lot of stuff from the conferences that are like, they're legit iPhone photos and shit and everything held up and whatever. So
you were like an agency for the people. Like, I mean, your shows, your design, like all these events you go, you're appeasing graphic designers.
Yeah.
not clients.
Yeah.
So how is this having a reverse effect on your business then?
So that's something I kind of saw in the beginning, that clients were noticing. They noticed all the shit that we're selling online. I would send them, like in the beginning, we made a poster that's in here, and I sent that out to them, right? Just thinking, oh, they're going to get the poster and be like, oh, cool, thanks, right? But then we kept getting back in briefs, photos of the poster, and like, we want this style, right? So I'm like, wow, this is fucking crazy or they'd take a photo of a couple patches, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, they're putting this in a brief with like other designs from other studios or whatever, and they're asking for this style. So we got to keep doing this, we got to keep making more because the clients are noticing. And then like when we did the chop up, I was shocked like on like client calls that were like, oh, I saw the new chop up. And I'm like,
I know, right?
Sick. I'm like, that's what I want to hear. Like we don't have a shit ton of followers on YouTube, but I always say the ones that are following and watching like care.
Yeah.
Some of them are clients, fucking amazing. The book, like we got main top guy at Mattel was like, congrats on the book. Like he's watching, he wanted one,
That's crazy.
So it's something that the clients too are paying attention, so yeah.
So do you think it's you've done this to a whole other level. Do you think it's important for designers like everybody here at the show to do the same stuff for their own selves?
Yeah, I don't know. Cause I've also talked about like, it wasn't totally intentional.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like when we moved the studio up to Portland, I had the agency in San Diego for 10 years, moved it up to Portland, changed the name. Right. So I was in a panic of like, we had great clients, we had Hasbro, Mattel, all these clients, WWE. I wanted to keep them. I needed to educate them on, hey, the team is coming with me. It's the same team, just a different name. Right. Same product. We're going to, continue to design for you. So it was at a necessity that I was like, okay, we changed the name. I need to send all these clients bunch of swag and shit. So they see the name, they get the new business card, they get the new poster, all this shit, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, then they started using it and posting it and putting it in briefs and shit. And so like it gradually kind of evolved, Yep. And then we're like, oh, let's make more stuff and more stuff. I don't think it's like a great idea for like a young designer to be like, hey, I'm going to make a bunch of stickers and shirts. Like it's hard to sell product.
Yeah, it is.
Like we don't sell a shit ton of stuff on our website. Like we don't. Okay. We have sales every week, and my sons used to come in and ship like once a week, right?
Cool.
Let them build up on the store, come in, ship them all.
Yeah.
And there is stuff every week, but it is by no means keeping the light on.
Right.
The lights on. It's a fun thing. It's something that we're going to continue to do. But so I've just seen like young designers that like, kind of jump all in on it, all at once, spend a bunch of money. Like the product doesn't sell that quickly without having, building the brand and people understanding what it is, So.
Well, and that's what people don't see. They don't see the years that it took to get to this.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just like, oh, he's killing it in merch.
Yeah. This is how he did it, so I'm going to do it that way.
Yeah. And it's like, no, this is 10 years of slowly making merch.
Yes.
And like I've always said, and when we make the merch and we make the product, it's for a reason.
Yes.
Like we won't make shit for months, but hey, if we're going to come to Crop and sell shit, now I'm going to make a bunch of new shit because I know it can sell here. But if we don't have any events lined up, we won't make stuff for months, because I'm like, I know if I just make a brand new t-shirt, like new design, make, 150 tees, like they're not going to fly off the shelf right away. Just putting up on the website and posting on Instagram, we'll sell whatever, 20 of them. But so we do it strategically. Like we have a reason to make new product because we're doing this event, so that's where if you're going to come to an event and have a table, then cool, because you can sell stuff in person, you know?
So when you're creating your own logos, your own brands, your own items, which are all crazy, is this like internal inspiration for the team? Is this just for your own kind of creative itch?
Yeah. Like, a lot of it's for my creative itch. Like I did the workshop. We did the workshop yesterday, and there was a couple questions about the merch and all this stuff. And I told everybody there, I said, honestly, looking back, I've owned a studio for 20 years, right? First 5 years of my career was at DC Shoes in the action sports industry, right?
Yep.
Looking back, like I love t-shirts and hats. I love brands like Brixton and Volcom and like all these brands, right?
Yeah.
Like looking back, I should have started an apparel company like 20 years ago and fuck the agency. Because that's like, I really like that and I enjoy that industry. I enjoy the products, so some of it to me is also like if I'm going to wear t-shirts, I want to wear stuff that we designed. So, to me, it's just like a guilty pleasure too of like, I love hats, so we make fucking hats. You know?
And they're awesome.
And sometimes, like the guys at the studio will be like, we need to make this style hat. And I'm kind of like, but I wouldn't wear that hat, so I don't want to make it. But we do. Like, we got a dad hat now and stuff because they wanted that, and I'm like, all right, we'll make it whatever. Like 24 of those, but so I do think it's I would hate for like, young designers just to think like, if I make a bunch of product, I'm going to sell it. Like, it's tough,
But okay, so maybe not about products, but what about the importance of, I mean, again, it seems like you're working on, your brand, your own stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like do you feel that that's important that they should dedicate time to just do their own shit?
I do. Yeah. Because I think the time you do spend on your own shit, you're going to learn a lot, and some of that inspiration and the stuff you're doing will end up in client projects, and you'll be like, oh, I did that for myself and it worked out well, or is super well received by everybody. So let me try it now for this new client project, So I think I think nowadays more than anything, like everybody wants to know who's behind the studio, who's behind a Lincoln, like it's crazy that like I did a talk at ABC, the studio in Texas, did a panel like a couple weeks ago.
Cool.
And then we were talking about like social media and like, do you have to like be the face of the brand or the face of a studio? Like, can there be a studio with no face? Like nobody knows. And I think there can, but I think nowadays, like everybody feels like they need to understand, what the brand represents, what the company represents, who's running it, what they represent, like, I mean, years ago, nobody gave a shit about, who's running Tesla or whatever, like who's behind the company and what they're doing. Now it's like, shit, the people behind the company are bigger than some of the actual companies.
You're
like
right.
Elon and, you had Jobs and stuff like that, So I think nowadays they expect the access to find out like who is Dan and what does Dan represent? And does that line up with Lincoln? Oh, okay, it does. So cool. Now I feel like I'm part of it and I understand this. So
that's actually a really interesting angle.
Yeah. So I think if you brand yourself and you do your own kind of internal, work and branding, and you can present that to the client, they're going to get a good idea right away of like, if this is what he's doing for himself, I can kind of see what I'm going to get as an end product, So
interesting.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
Did you touch on that on your branding exercise yesterday in your workshop?
A little bit. Yeah. A lot of it, James put together pretty much the whole workshop, and I was kind of there to support him and kind of give Lincoln's take on everything he was talking about, and we got pretty deep into, who you are and not like in a graphic like sense, but more just a little more internal and deep and like what you represent to yourself,
Yeah.
So it was cool. Yeah, it was cool.
And now a word from our sponsor.
All right, designers, let's cut the bull. How many times have you had a killer website design only to watch it fall apart because of code or developer telling you no? Or maybe you've held back from web design altogether thinking it's just too complicated and too technical or totally out of your wheelhouse. Either way, it's time for a change. Wix Studio is designed for designers, removing the barriers that limits your designs. Whether you're tired of developers watering down your ideas or too intimidated by the technical side of web, Wix Studio puts the creative power back in your hands. No code required. With a drag and drop interface that feels designer intuitive, plus no code animations and even AI powered tools, you can create fully custom websites that match your vision. Every pixel, every detail. And if you're worried about the learning curve, don't be. Wix Studio is designed to feel as intuitive as your favorite design tools. Some designers here even say more so. That means you can jump right in and focus on what you do best, designing badass, brand-aligned websites that'll take your business to the next level. So whether you've had enough of developers holding you back or you're ready to finally step into web design, check out wixstudio.com and take control. That's wixstudio.com. Go and take back web design for graphic designers.
So you have an incredibly talented team. and you got all these crazy horses that are just so talented. And even James, like, oh, you're pulling reins on everybody. What does that do for you in that sense? Like, because you're not a leader by any means, but you are, kind of like the figurehead. Are you still acting as creative director? Like, how does this work?
Yeah. So I promoted Dustin to creative director, right?
Okay, cool.
Nice. And kind of, him and I basically, so honestly, the way it works is like nothing leaves the studio without myself or Dustin seeing it, right? Yep. Like nothing. Like we've had projects in the past where we had an old project manager, like sent out a couple projects and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. How did
like,
this happen?
I would have took that page out of the deck or like, I didn't see that. Like, no way.
Yeah.
So like Dustin or myself have eyes on everything, right? Yep. Dustin works with a lot of our bigger clients. He manages those projects kind of start to finish. I mean, my job nowadays, like what I should be focusing on is bringing in new clients, keeping the clients we have happy, and keeping the work flowing,
Yeah.
And it's gotten to a point where I enjoy that now, like,
nice.
And that's where like coming to things like this shit benefits the company big time, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you got Tyler here from Nickelodeon. We've done a ton of projects with him, right?
Yeah.
So just hanging out with him, having a couple beers with him, like freaking amazing, you know? So
jeez, it's almost like an excuse, like to play hooky. I'm kind of jealous.
No, it's
I really thought of it like that. Is it up to you then to keep thinking what's next for the company?
Absolutely.
Some kind of pressure does that do?
It's a lot.
When you got all these crazy horses,
no,
you have to keep entertained.
No, it's definitely, up to me to kind of, decide what does this year look like next year, kind of pivot if we need to. And that's where that can be a full-time job. So it's definitely, it's cool though. I love it. And,
Well, I mean, it was like last year, you really made a push to bring motion into your company.
Yeah.
And I just, so far, what I'm seeing is just
incredible.
I know. I had to reach out and I was like, what the hell am I looking at?
I know.
Great.
Yeah.
I know.
So Frankie's been killing it. And it's fun.
So now what kind of, motion is very different than design, than graphics,
Absolutely.
but you can see the influence. How is that playing internally?
Yeah. It's great. I mean, we were getting asked by clients like to do it, so it was a bit of a like, we're like, okay, we've been asked enough times.
Yeah,
we've
it's now
hired some freelancers to do it, like, well, we need to bring this thing in house and really try to push it, and it's been great. And honestly, so Frankie went to school for design and then graphic design, and then right at the end, he switched to motion graphics, right?
Oh, cool.
Which is a big difference. Like he can design a logo as well.
Yes.
And so he understands that whole process. So then when like moving into motion, he has a big perspective on like what it should look like for like a logo to animate and things like that.
Yeah.
And so we were in the process of hiring like a junior animator, right? Yeah. And Frank and I were looking at resumes and things like that. And I think there's a huge benefit to having that background in design and then moving into motion as opposed to like just going straight into college. I'm going to be a motion designer, right?
Yeah.
Have no
sense of anything.
Clue, no sense of design.
Right. Yeah.
Screen layout, page layout, like any of that shit, like building a logo, like you're just like, I'm just going to make shit move.
Yeah.
Well, the shit you're making move, like probably some designer designed that. Yeah. Right. And if you don't understand how that was done, like the movements and the shit that you're going to do probably isn't going to be, I mean, it might be good, but and I think you can do that. But I think for what I've seen with Frankie and some of the people we've interviewed, and we have another guy who's freelance that helps us out a lot. Like they have backgrounds in design and it translates very well.
Yeah, it translates well.
Yeah.
Do you think that designers, upcoming designers, as we're talking about, they're trying to grasp for everything, there's benefit to them having a basic understanding of motion graphics, whether it's for logo reveals, whether it's for presentations, PowerPoint, basic stuff. Not full motion stuff like you guys.
Yeah, I think basic. Yeah, for sure. If you do some stuff to elevate yourself and your brand or your post, like great,
Was it easy to sell that up to customers?
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. It's kind of a no-brainer.
And we have a couple clients that are just motion now, most of what we do for them is just motion work, which is cool. Yeah. And I see the most growth for us in that industry, in motion.
Way.
Yeah, motion and videography as well. Like we've been doing last year, we spent a shit ton of time traveling around, shooting like different commercials for Kubota and then doing a lot of editing and then working in the motion graphics on top of that, right?
Yeah.
So I see a lot of just growth in both those areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything that's making you angry right now about our industry?
Angry about the industry.
Something you're not happy with?
Yeah, the fucking tariffs. But that's not our industry, but it turned it's not our industry, but it turned into my industry, like, when I had to ship these fucking books.
Yeah.
And I paid $2,600 for a tariff to get them over here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that whole thing, and like just where the economy's at, and like the weird uncertainty of AI, the economy, the tariffs, shipping. Like, I think there's we have a lot of clients that I can, when I sit down and think about it, I'm like, it's going to affect this client and this client and this client. I mean, I had a call on Monday with Kubota Tractors, and like, there's a bit of a pause on a lot of stuff because they don't know exactly how big and how heavy the tariff fees are going to be.
Right. That's funny. Yeah.
And like, you start looking at like the movie industry, and then like we do a lot of stuff with consumer products and stuff. Dude, 99% of that shit is made overseas.
Yeah.
So they're either going to pause projects with us, or they're going to, rack up their prices or whatever it is. There's going to be a trickle down effect. I think even if it got solved tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like it's already paused.
Yeah.
The shipping is paused.
Yeah.
Like
companies
are feeling it. Yeah. Companies are already
rolling again.
They're already paying it,
Yeah.
Our printer was basically like, they do a ton of work for like Amazon and shit. And they're like, we basically have paused everything for Amazon. It's all sitting over in China. The factory shut down, so for all that shit to start up again, like it's going to take months to get back to normal.
Yeah.
But we haven't even solved the problem yet, so nobody even knows. So.
See, it's interesting that you're feeling it. I mean, we've talked to a few people, and we know a lot of the smaller independents are feeling it.
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear that an agency is feeling it, especially, like what some of your caliber. Like this probably will make some people kind of be like, well, shit, thank God it's not just me.
Yeah.
To your detriment, unfortunately, or to, the fault right now.
Yeah. No, totally. I think it's going to affect a lot more people than they think,
Absolutely.
There's just so much that, comes from overseas, and that we take for granted, honestly,
It's so
it's so stupid.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
Yeah. No, it's
like,
it's crazy times.
Crazy times.
Yeah. And I didn't think like I was pushing to get the book done to have some at Crop, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't even thinking, because when we sent the book to print, it was months ago, like wasn't even thinking like, oh shit, this is, I'm going to hit an issue with tariffs and things like that. Because the Mayhem books were all printed here in the U.S. This one is a little thicker because of the binding and stuff. Like the price was going to be a bit outrageous here in the U.S.,
Yeah,
so
you
I'm
had to get it.
All right, I got to go overseas with this thing, right? So I did for the first time. And then I'm like, fuck.
And now you're
so burned.
Yeah.
There you go. Your price is back, isn't it?
And I was going to have it printed in Germany, and then I didn't do it in Germany. We did it in China, and I was like, fuck, at least if it would have been in Germany, like the tariffs are much lower.
Yeah.
So whatever.
What is something that you look for in the young designers that are applying to Lincoln, or even any of your prospects, like the prospective designers, motion designers, graphic designers?
Yeah. So I would say, they got to have a solid portfolio. I want to see stuff outside of, like, say you're coming out of school.
Yep.
Like what I don't want to see is like a portfolio full of schoolwork, and you don't have any freelance projects, right?
Yeah.
Everybody can do a freelance project, even if it's bullshit. Like make up a company, make something up, right? There should be something in your portfolio that's outside of school.
Right.
If there isn't, what that tells me is you went to school, you did the bare minimum, you did what you were asked, and that was it, right?
Yeah.
If you were in school for 3 or 4 years and you didn't do a single project outside of like what you did in school, like to me, you don't have a love for this. You're not like, you're just there to get an art degree and hopefully a job doing design, like you really don't. I feel like our industry, like you have to kind of live it and love it, and like you got to be, your head's got to be turned on full time when you're walking around the street, like, oh, it's a dope sign, like, and somebody like that just did the bare minimum, like, obviously isn't doing that, So it's a little bit of that. And they had portfolio reviews, I guess, yesterday here with
we did.
the students from
we were part of
that.
and
I heard nothing but good things.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I heard like those students' work like looked like professionals, and it didn't look like student work, which is great, You
know what's funny? And it wasn't just us. So it seems like there was a common issue across the board. And I don't want to say a huge issue, but like, I mean, okay, when it came to the quality of talent, everybody was bang on.
Really?
Everything was great that we saw.
Yeah.
Where it almost felt like everybody on the same level. And again, not just us, but other people were talking, because we had a panel afterwards to just talk about this. They fell short on the journey. They didn't know how to present the case study. They would sometimes, you know, they didn't know how to tell the story about the job, even the story in their portfolio. At what point do they talk about themselves versus the client versus the problem? And that was, I mean, we gave that to 3 of the 4 people that we did reviews for, was, you know, let's tighten up that story and get it in a good order, and then other people as well. So it's they don't teach that in school.
No.
They're teaching you how to present stuff, and it all looked slick. But it was so hard to remember. And by the time, you know, okay, we had 4 very different people, and they were amazing. But as an agency owner, if I had 24 of those, I wouldn't be able to tell who the hell from anybody afterwards.
And so when I'm going to hire, that's, I mean, I've always told people, like, it's almost 50-50. The 50% of it, the work has to be good. The other 50% is, who are you?
Yes.
Like, can you join the team?
Can I have a beer with you?
Yeah, exactly. Come into this family, you know, because it is a small family, you know, we're not a huge studio. So you're going to be in the office with us. You're not remote. The post says not remote. Do not apply. Like, and then ask, like,
can I work
but
from
you know,
home?
but yeah, can I, you know, are you okay with, like, me working? No, it's said in house, you know, like,
what kind of crazy person wouldn't want to work in your environment?
I get a lot of that. So
that's funny. I didn't know that you guys, I mean, we're the same way. Our creative, we'll have remote programmers. That's fine. Different mindset.
There's some reason.
Creative has to be like local.
It
hurts us in one way. Our pool is smaller.
No, totally.
But if they really want to work, you're getting people who really want to work with us.
No, it cuts out a lot of people for sure. You know, like, there's a lot of talent out there that wants to be remote, and they will get a job remote, and they have them, you know. But I'm like, you know, you need to be able to be in-house, and you're, you know, who you are as a person, and, you know, needs to vibe with everybody else. And that's the other half. You know? So,
exactly.
So, like, they need to be able to tell the story, you know, of the work in the portfolio, as well as, like, who they are. You know, why'd you get into this? Like, what do you do outside of work? You know, like,
never thought of that. It's true. Exactly.
Right?
Why are you doing this? What's the reason behind it?
Shit. You know, so.
So I asked you this last time, and then you teased motion, and now you got motion.
So what's next?
What's next?
What is next? I don't know, because we got the book. So, like, next, like, the last year, you know, was like, kind of getting everything ready and together for the book, you know. So now that we have that and it's done, like, we have a really solid team now. You know, there's 17 of us. Like, it feels like a good number, kind of core group, you know.
It is.
So I don't have plans. Eventually we'll hire a junior motion person, you know, but right now I don't have plans of hiring anybody else in the next year. Like, I think we have what we need to really do some good projects, service the clients we have, you know, as well as bring in some new ones. But we spent a lot of last year, basically went into last year in 2024. I told the team, like, we have amazing, like, I printed out, like, the list of our, like, current clients and who we're working with, right? And it was a great looking list, right? Of really cool clients and projects. And I'm like, all we need to do is take these right here. And it was about 20 different companies, and, like, get them to do a little bit more work. If we can get a couple to double, triple, like, what we're doing with them, fucking amazing. Like, we don't need to go out and get a bunch of new clients, you know? Because in the past, I've been like, we need to get new clients and this and that. And of course, like, we still want to bring in some new clients, and there's exciting companies we definitely want to work with, you know? But last year we spent the year going, okay, let's just over service and take care of the clients we have, because they're great, you know? And it worked out really well. Like, we had our biggest year ever and everything. So, I was going to continue that this year, and I am, but with some ideas of, like, reaching out to other clients and things. But this year has been weird. Like, this first quarter has been funky. Like, we haven't been super slow, but like I said, I've had clients just talk about, like, we don't know. We don't know yet. Like, we're pausing a budget or this and that. Like, they just seem very uncertain, you know? So it's been weird. And I don't see it, like, freeing up or getting any better? Anybody
anytime soon
feeling like, oh no, let's just go for it, right now it's like people are like, it's not the time to go for it, so
fair enough, everybody's treading lightly.
So it's interesting,
Well, I know that there's a ton of designers out there that are just holding their breath for anything else you got, whether it's books, workshops, I don't know, maybe another Into the Woods. That has been a big
times has that come up here?
Oh man,
dude, I know, and you probably get asked all the time. You started this. I know. You invited all these graphic designers.
Yeah.
So not expecting anything right now, but
it's not like I told everybody here in our workshop yesterday. It's not a no. It's not off the table.
Okay.
Like it has to be. It is. I need to think about it. It has to be done right. It has to be done different. It can't be what we did last time. Like what we did last time was great. Like everybody had a great time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. The team enjoyed it. We didn't have any big hiccups or anything. Like it went off pretty flawless, right?
Yeah.
It's just the venue we were at was fucking amazing, but we couldn't do it there again. They were hard to deal with. It cost too much. And so we'd have to go somewhere else, I think I would do it a little bit smaller, maybe. Like we had about 225 people. I would never do anything bigger than that. I thought that was a good size,
Great size.
Or I'd go a little smaller. I mean, it was cool and I'd do it again where definitely make sure I did it exactly like we did it there, where it was like you stayed at the venue. It was all in one area, I think that forced everybody to get to know the speakers, get to know everybody.
Absolutely.
You saw them all every day, like dinner, lunch.
We're still talking to people that we know from there.
Totally.
Good
relationships. There was a lot of relationships made, business and just friends from that whole event, so I want to do it again. And I think it'll be a year or two from now, but I think there's a way to.
Well, it definitely felt like that was the springboard, because from that point on, it's like Lincoln has exploded. The brand is totally the envy of all designers that I know anyway, right? And again, we're always waiting.
It was a great marketing tool, and that's all we wanted it to be. We're like, hey, if we can break even on this thing, that's a win. We didn't break even, but it was still a great marketing tool.
Rock on.
Yeah, and it was cool. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, it is always a pleasure to sit down and get updates with
Thank
you.
you guys.
And this was cool. Before you came, we touched on some AI.
Oh, of course. So I'll have to listen to it, I guess.
Right. You and everybody else.
Stupid.
And thank you, brother.
Hey, what we're missing in these things, though? I did the one at Creative South, right?
Without alcohol?
Yeah.
Beer?
The whiskey.
That's right.
Every time I listen to you guys, you guys got a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, I know.
And I've done the one at South. We didn't have any whiskey. This one.
We did have beer. We did have beer.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got to make a point to always have a bottle with you.
You're right. You're right. This is true. Yeah.
Why haven't we?
It's part of our brand.
It is. It absolutely is. Yeah.
Well, wait. Last time I remember, you were working with some whiskey companies, so you need to be bourbon company.
Yes, I could bring the bourbon.
Yeah. Just saying. I mean, I don't know.
True. Yeah.
We bring the looks. You bring the bourbon.
There you go. Yeah. Perfect.
All right, everybody. Our hero, Dan from Lincoln Design Co.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm Massimo.
My name's Sean.
And you are.
I'm Dan Janssen, Lincoln Design.
Stay creative.
And stay angry.
Peace.